Public Q&A presents Ask Reddit question. What hurts like a motherfucker? Severe burns. I watched Steve O's new stand-up show, and he says burns are the worst pain imaginable. And that guy has put his body through some shit, lol. Severe burns should be the top answer here. I worked at a foundry earlier in my life and got burnt regularly. As bad as everything else is here, there are not too many types of pain where they willingly put a person into a coma to deal with the pain. 1600C applied directly to my ankle or Achilles has given me a permanent limp. That was a severe burn on sub 1% of my body. I have a healthy fear of burning. It scares the fuck out of me. Chef here. I once saw a guy slip and bump into a deep fryer, splashing oil up onto his back. Lucky he didn't fall in, but I have never heard a man scream like that. He didn't come back to work. I mean, he lived, he just quit as soon as he was out of the hospital. My husband is a chef. He worked at a dining hall in a university, took the job to hold him over until we could find him something more in his profession. The dining hall management was terrible at keeping equipment up to code. My husband was holding a big buffet-style pan full of boiling hot Alfredo sauce. And he set it on a cutting board on the side of a counter. Cutting board was slanted down because no one wanted to fix it. Alfredo sauce fell and poured down on hubby's foot. He had college kids directly in front of him. So instead of breaking health code and flinging his shoe and socks off, he left it and continued working. The burn on his foot was a solid 3 inches long, and the blister itself was at least a half-inch tall. Needless to say, he took a workers' comp claim, and management fixed that cutting board. Back in the day when I was a manager at McDonald's, we had just changed the fryer oil, was as clear as water. Had an employee that had been there for a long time, but dropped something in the fryer. I guess he had a brain fart since it was so clear, he reached his hand in to get it. The scream was awful, and the way his hand looked, I'll never forget. It was 20 years ago. Being on fire hurts, recovering from a burn hurts more. The first thing they do when you get to the burn unit is debridement, cleaning the wound. Then every morning, I would go to the tub room. It is a room with 6 stainless steel tubs where they clean the burns. They told me the worst part of the tub room is listening to your neighbor scream. Thankfully, I was the only patient in the room for my first time. They asked me what kind of music I wanted to listen to, and they crank up the music to drown out your screams. Elton John's Tiny Dancer could be heard down the hall, they had it that loud. Still, none of that is the worst pain I have ever felt. A year and a week after the fire, I had my 4th burn surgery. The following day, I had a headache that was much worse. After a few days of this excruciating headache, I told my wife, "This headache hurts worse than being on fire did." She convinced me to go to the doctor. The headache was from a brain tumor the size of a lime. I had surgery to remove part of the tumor. There were some problems during the surgery. They didn't want me doped up because it could have masked the potential brain damage. Half of my skull was removed, then bolted back together, and I could only have Tylenol for 2 days. Passing kidney stones. Or worse, not passing kidney stones. They pulled mine out from my kidney through my dick. And removed an S-shaped device, the stent, later on, also through my dick without full anesthesia. Edit. The term stent. Yeah, that's called a stent. They give you something to make you loopy, but don't knock you out. The insertion. The extraction. These are things you all never forget. Did that. Literally vomited with pain. My now 95-year-old father had me rush him to emergency at 2 a.m. one night. Context. I would just moved back home with him a few months earlier, as mom had passed suddenly, and he needed help coming to peace with it back in 2003. Had no idea what was going on at the time, other than he was in a crazy amount of pain. How bad? That night Dad dropped F-bombs, and this was a lifetime first ever to hear this language from him. So yeah. I can certainly believe that it's painful. If I had to rely had my dad's cursing to know whether or not he was ill, he'd never leave the hospital. It is the turbine warfare, motherfucker. Kidney stones are hell. I had one stuck in my urethra, and had to have it surgically removed. The stent they put in afterward was a pain I never want to experience again. I stopped drinking because I didn't want to wee. The lady next to me asked if I was okay because I was crying in pain on the toilet. I ended up asking the nurses for a catheter. I also went through this. Being stuck is far worse than passing it. My pain of it moving was constant. Didn't sleep for 10 days. I had to work though because I am salary. There was one day, for 6 hours, it felt like someone was constantly flicking my testicles. At work. The worst experience of my 37 years of life. Pulling the stint out was just a cherry on top of a shit cake. I have since changed my diet and way of life. Kidney stones are the only thing that can bring my dad to his knees, and he's the kind of guy that has shrapnel in him from Vietnam, and gets roots canals with no medication. Came here to say this. When they asked women who have had kidney stones and children which pain was worse, they all said kidney stones. Have done both. Would rather have precipitous labor with a surprise baby than ever have kidney stones again. Yes. I would rather have 18 to 21 years of raising another child I didn't know I was expecting than have another kidney stone. Thank you for this. My wife refused to believe me when I told her this statistic. She thought I needed to just suck it up when I had a kidney stone. It was the absolute worst. My wife said something similar. I had kidney stones as a 20-something, and now have gallstones as a significantly older than 20-something. Kidney stones are worse as I can stop a gallstone attack, and know how to prevent them for the most part. I am a woman, and I have had 3 babies naturally and kidney stones twice. I'd say the pain is equal. The pain from the stones came on slowly like contractions do, and lasted what felt like forever, until I passed them. Passing them didn't hurt for me like pushing out a 7 pounds baby did, but in saying that, the second time I had stones the pain was so bad I thought I might die, and I threw up and came close to passing out. Never thought I'd die from the labor pains, but sure did with the kidney stones. Remember to drink lots of water to prevent kidney stones. Subreddit Water Brothers. Cannot tell people this enough. Remembering the pain from a kidney stone is what still motivates me to drink lots of water every single day. Passing the stone actually didn't hurt that much for me. It was the blockage of the kidneys that hurt the worst. Past a small to middle-sized one, I could sleep only while the pain meds were still lasting. I can't imagine what a larger one hurts like. Migraines. Once had morphine in hospital to get rid of a nuclear one, and I suddenly understood why people were in love with heroin. It went from murderous to 0 in 3, 2, 1 seconds. Dilated, or however it's spelled, is intense, especially if they flush the 4 right behind it. Fucking crazy feeling. Dilated. Gesundheit. Donkey shins. Yup, they gave it to me when I had appendicitis. Within a second I knew why people fall in love with heroin. I also know I can never try heroin without destroying my life. In that moment I'd have gladly given up everything to spend the rest of my life feeling like that. It's good that you know this. I didn't know that. That's the good stuff. Morphine is to dilated as bell peppers are to ghost peppers. I have had morphine during probably 8 or so hospital stays, or before or after surgeries for various serious issues. Never felt as though it helped at all, though I am sure it took the edge off. After my most recent operation getting an IVC filter removed by catheter through my jugular, I was in intense pain, and they gave me Dilaudid. My head immediately went fuzzy and dropped back to the pillow because I couldn't hold it up. I asked the nurse, why don't you always use this stuff instead of morphine? She smiled, gestured at me, and said, that's why. That's exactly what scares me about them. I hope I never need it because it does sound so good. I would hate to find out you am one of those people who falls in love with it. You need the love, but you also need access, and you also need a shitty life you want to escape from. Addicts don't go from a perfectly normal happy person to an addict, there is a reason. Yeah, I have seen the study where they noticed that rats in a stressful environment use more drugs than others. Still though, don't want to risk it. Yep. I have had morphine a couple times, most recently after a snowboarding accident, and it was pretty good. But went in the hospital for an ovarian cyst, and was given Dilaudid. Oh my lord. I exaggerated the pain to spend an extra night in there on the floor. Can confirm, I'd lay in bed unable to sleep with pain so sharp I would cry, and I have a pretty high pain tolerance. Keep in mind the pain comes in waves for hours sometimes. Gets to the point where I want to stick my head in a vice and turn it till it crushes my skull and brains. Honestly, I never understood why people do stupid shit when they are in pain. Until I had my first migraine ever. I was thinking of cracking my head open to really ease the pressure inside. Creepy when I think about it. It is crazy the thoughts you have when in pain. I have thought on more than one occasion how nice it would be to just remove my head. Like a Barbie doll, just pop it off. Leave it in a cupboard until it decides to behave itself again. Those thoughts feel like an entry to a diary of unstable patient from lunatic asylum. You know, from those horror games. When you walk around creepy institute looking for clues. I know how you feel. I have had the pain behind my eye hurt so badly I thought of removing it myself. Yeah, there is nothing quite as miraculous as opiates when the pain is intolerable. Morphine saw major use on soldiers during the US Civil War. Prior to morphine, soldiers were given alcohol, and then held down while destroyed limbs were amputated. The nickname for morphine was the Angel of Mercy. I am generally puking my guts up on the floor of a pitch-black bathroom to survive. I never can hold normal meds down. Sometimes even have to take kids' Tylenol to keep my head in one piece. They suck. Thankfully it's only like 2 times a year, but still. Gallbladder attacks. Gallstones fucking suck. Amen. I kept having attacks and ignored them because I was active duty military at the time, and didn't want to be a little bitch who goes to medical for a tummy ache, and after a few months of ignoring attacks at least once or twice a month, my gallbladder gave up entirely. Bitch ER doc tried telling me it was stomach acid, and I should cut back on acidic foods, and then prescribed me Vicodin for my stomach acid. 2 months after that, I finally got my gallbladder removed. Doctor said it stopped working entirely, and was just filled with sludgy gallstones. Yes, I know it was dumb AF of me to ignore the pain for months for the sake of saving face. The fucking do. Had one the size of a fucking golf ball when I turned 21, felt like dying from pain for a few days with my mother refusing to believe me, until my body decided to just nope and collapse. That's when she took me to the hospital. Had my surgery done that very night, just a few hours after being admitted. I don't blame her too much. She had to basically raise her hypochondriac brother, but damn, you'd think she'd be able to tell the difference between a kiddo faking a fever, and her daughter puking up bile and collapsing from pain. My mom had a gallbladder attack that forced her to get it removed. She said the pain was worse than giving birth. Beat me to it, fellow gallstone attack survivor. It feels like a heart attack, asthma attack and panic attack all at once. I hope to never experience that level of pain again. I had mine out. The surgeon came in a day later and told me that the tissue was necrotic. The organ had died inside me. I had emergency surgery to remove my gallbladder because it became infected due to stones. The 3 days I put up with the pain before finally going to the hospital was the most intense pain I have ever felt. Couldn't eat, couldn't drink, couldn't sleep, it was truly awful. I removed my gallbladder last year. Best decision ever. I am sure what I had was a gallbladder attack, but it really made me think I was allergic to almonds. The first 2 times it happened, I had just eaten almonds. But then it happened again later on after a meal with no almonds involved, and the 4th time, all I had was some old stale Crush orange soda. And for some reason I can get the pain to go away by forcing myself to vomit. Normal. Not gallstones. Stomach muscles dislodge the stones during vomiting. I wish I knew. But I am American, and finding the answer to that question will cost me at least $1,000 that I don't have. I came by to say the same thing. Had a few attacks late last year, or early this year. I have never felt pain like it. I honestly thought I was going to die. Man, you asked the right man. Currently going through one mean fucking stomach virus after eating what I reckon was bad fish. This ain't fun. My whole body hurts, I can't stop throwing up, it's coming out both ends, and I am shaking. I have been through one of these 2 years ago, and this one ain't as bad, but it's kicking my ass. Y'all pray for me, folks. It's gonna be a long night. Edit. Much better this morning. Holy shit. Last night was a complete trip through hell. Make sure to drink something with electrolytes, Gatorade but Pedialyte or something else better, and lots of water, got to stay hydrated. Brondo has electrolytes. It's got what victims of food poisoning crave. Something with electrolytes. Gatorade but Pedialyte or something. Nah, sounds like this guy needs the thirst mutilator. If you're not back on Reddit in 6 minutes, I am calling the National Guard. A bit better now that I have thrown up like 5 gallons. Still feel absolutely awful though. But a bit better. For our check-in, how are ya? They're dead. Bless your heart. I have been through that before, and food poisoning is the worst. Definitely stay hydrated the best you can. Gatorade, anything. You don't want to take anything like Pepto-Bismol, because that will stop you throwing up, etc., and your boat is trying to get rid of all the toxins. Seriously, sending prayers your way. Get well soon. Hydrate and activated charcoal. Charcoal acts like a sponge in your gut. I always kept some in my kit bag on overseas work. I had octopus tacos in Hawaii from a food truck. I was in the hospital 3 days, and had more for bags than I could count. I didn't pee for the first 2 days. I thought it was over. There was no doubt I was going to turn inside out, but eventually the muscles so exhausted even the dry heaving was more of a cough. Octopus tacos. Octacos. I food poisoned my dumb ass 4 years ago. Careless food prep with some chicken, I would stir-fried W or veggies. Horrible experience. I have never had any serious food poisoning. Any advice if I had one? Edit. Thank you all for the advices, I'll make sure to remember one of them. Hard for me to answer that. I only realized what had happened after the fact, when I was feeling better, and went to clean up my kitchen, as in, wash the dirty dishes on my counter. It's common knowledge that once one cooks chicken you do not return it to the same surface it rested when raw. I noticed I only had a single dirty plate that day. Should have had a second dirty plate, but was nowhere to be found. Felt like an idiot because I knew this as I cooked, but the dirty dish evidence was right there. I had to have put the cooked chicken back on the same plate. Brain cramp, and I paid for it. Dang, it looks like you got salmonella poisoning. In all seriousness, sorry you had to experience that. I will keep that in mind though for the future. I have had some poisoning but never Nella, heard it's way worse. If you get it, just remember it only lasts about a day. When you are crying, sweating and snotting on your pillow, know that in 24 hours you will feel like damaged goods but not in pain. Try 2 weeks for Campylobacter. The first 4 days I slept for no more than 20 minutes at a time. I was swallowing Diorolite at 5 liters a day. Then the fever hit, and the hallucinations went on for a week. I had my first piece of solid food on day 13. I lost over 20 pounds in weight. My GP had to report me to environmental health, and I couldn't return to work for another week. COVID-19 was a piece of piss by comparison. Being afraid of dying is a lot better than wanting to die. Sending you a good thought, man, softest TP in the world, quietest flush, electrolytes with the least gross aftertaste. If you have a plastic chair, just put it in your shower, and sit in it for a few hours with the water running, or as long as your hot water holds out. It's not perfect, but it helps mask the problem for a while as your system is sorting itself out. Y'all pray for me, folks. The power of Christ compels you. Stretching your legs the wrong way when you're laying in bed, and you get a wicked Charlie horse. Bonus points if it happens while you're fast asleep, and you wake up in pain you are too tired to understand. Any additional points if you wake up to one, and then about 20 minutes later you wake up to the other leg getting one. More points if you wake up as a horse named Charlie. Ouch, Charlie. It really hurts. Charlie bit my finger. That can be a symptom of dehydration or a potassium deficiency. Abandonment. We have a winner. But remember, if they leave, it's about them, not you. Unless you're a cunt. Wow. You are still with us. Thanks for being such a nice person. As long as you are here, why not like this video and subscribe to our channel? Also, you can press the bell icon, so you won't miss any future uploads.